All right, how you doing, NCMR? Man, how about the band? Tuba? Vibes? Love it, love it. Hey, can I give a quick shout out to the AV crew? Working the cameras, they've been doing it all day. And I want to give one to the hotel staff as well. A lot of people here working tonight. All right, y'all are having fun though, right? All right. So I've been thinking a lot about David and Goliath. I mean, you know the story. The giant versus the shepherd armed with nothing more than a slingshot. David picked up those 5 stones, he went down the hill, and the giant, Goliath, he laughed at him. Goliath couldn't believe they had sent out this boy. He was a weakling, possibly a socialist. And then David, bam, right between the eyes. And we learned that David wins sometimes. That's the title of a book by the organizer Marshall Gans. And it's had me thinking about what separated David from all those other nameless dudes we don't talk about anymore, the ones that got squashed. It got me thinking because we, the people in this room, need to take on some giants. Giants like Comcast, giants like AT&T, giants like Verizon, giants like Time Warner, giants like Rupert Murdoch. And when you look at how big they are, when you see their army of lobbyists, when you know how much money and power they've got, it gets a little daunting. We have to remind ourselves, David wins sometimes. And we need to celebrate those wins. We need to tell the stories of our victories. Free press is about to mark its 10th anniversary. In just the decade since we started, we've beaten the media giants. We've beaten the Federal Communications Commission again and again when they tried to gut media ownership rules. We stopped Congress every time they tried to cut funding for public media. We made net neutrality a national issue. We stopped the merger of AT&T and T-Mobile. 10 million of us got together to kill the SOPA and PIPA web censorship bills. We did that. We know David wins sometimes. And we can't forget it because we've got a few more big fights on the way. Somehow. Even though Barack Obama ran for office saying that, quote, the media must reflect the diverse voices of this nation. Even though we have won in Congress and the courts, even though 99% of the public is on the record saying hell no, somehow the Obama FCC is still pushing to get rid of media ownership limits. Why? Why? So that Rupert Murdoch can buy the Los Angeles Times? It's unbelievable. Somehow we're still fighting over public broadcasting and public media. But let's look what happened when Mitt Romney took a swing at Big Bird. You remember that. Millions of people rose up. Millions of people rose up like they do every single time public media are attacked. Make no mistake, public media, it's a winning issue. It's just its leaders who always act like they're losing. It's time we get off our knees. We got to get up. We got to start demanding not just no more cuts, but way more money for the local journalism and community media that we need. You all know we're still fighting over the future of the internet. Right now in Washington, AT&T is trying to kill off all the most basic consumer protections. They call it the IP transition. Sounds harmless. They claim that the old rules about serving everyone or regulating prices shouldn't apply just because they have new technology. Don't be fooled. Their real aim is to kill off the open public network of communications that made the internet possible in the first place. And if we want everyone to benefit from that internet in the future, we cannot let AT&T get away with this. At the same time, a federal court is going to rule this year on the FCC's net neutrality rules. And if it goes as most of us expect, the FCC could lose any ability to protect internet users. That means they won't be able to stop Comcast from blocking websites. It could also mean the FCC won't be able to promote universal broadband. They won't be able to ensure access for the disabled, and they won't be able to protect you from price gouging. And when that ruling comes down, there's going to be a huge fight in Washington, a huge fight in Congress, a huge fight at the FCC, and we got to get ready. We have these huge fights ahead, but I do have a little bit of good news. None of them are going to be decided by Julius Janikowski. The president is picking a new FCC chair right now, and this time we need a true public servant. We need someone who will use this powerful position to stand up to industry giants. The FCC's already got enough lobbyists. What it needs is a leader. Now, you might have noticed that no current member of the FCC is with us this weekend. And maybe you can blame the sequester. But, even though they couldn't make it here with us, to be here with us in Denver, I know you're going to be relieved to hear that the FCC chairman and 2 commissioners are going to be able to get to Las Vegas this week for the convention of the National Association of Broadcasters. I mean, you would not want to miss that one. Because that's just how it is. I mean, right? That's what we're told in Washington all the time. That's just how it is. They say, we need to nominate a new FCC chair who is acceptable to industry. That's just how it is. They say, we had to sign that letter. I mean, AT&T gives us money. That's just how it is. So I don't know about you, but I'm getting a little bit tired of how it is. It's time to start expanding Washington's hopelessly narrow vision of what's possible. Maybe it's time that we started demanding the impossible. When David went down to meet Goliath, when he was going into battle, nobody said, hey David, don't make it personal. I hear Goliath is really a good guy. Nobody said, wait, I know what we should do first. Let's start a circular firing squad. Nobody said, hold on. Do you have a Republican co-sponsor? David wins sometimes. David wins sometimes because he confronts his enemies in new ways. David wins sometimes because he uses the skills and weapons he's already got. And David wins sometimes because his enemies underestimate him. And believe me, our enemies underestimate what we can do. David wins above all else because he has faith. And if we're going to win, we're going to need that type of faith. Faith that, as it was once written about the Mississippi freedom struggle in the 1960s, faith that ordinary people who believe in themselves are capable of extraordinary acts. And that's why I'm so optimistic. I see ordinary people doing extraordinary things every day. I see activists from the Prometheus Radio Project out there working to get hundreds of new LPFM community radio stations on the air. There's a window opening this October. I've seen 1,000 people marching up to Capitol Hill carrying puppets to show their passion for public media. I see millions of internet users around the world fighting against surveillance and censorship. I see young, independent journalists in court every day bearing witness at the trial of Bradley Manning when the mainstream media didn't show up. I see young women challenging sexism in the media. I see the DREAM activists marching. I see prisoners' families speaking out. And if they can do it, if they can stand up with so much more at risk, what are the rest of us waiting for? What are those of us who enjoy a little more privilege, more power? What are we going to do? Are we going to lose sight of our principles to hold on to access? Are we going to sign away our independence for a corporate donation? Are we going to keep settling for another compromise on a compromise on a compromise on a compromise on a capitulation? No. Not this time. Not this time. David wins sometimes. And if this is going to be one of those times for this movement, then we need to get our slingshots ready. That means each of us stepping forward at the right moment with whatever weapons we've got. If you've got time, give it. If you've got a blog, a Twitter account, use it. If all you have is a voice, yell real loud. A few months ago, I stood outside with our allies, outside the FCC, to protest the outrageous prison phone rates being charged to people whose family members are in prison. For 10 years, a petition to fix this scandal has been languishing at the FCC. But a coalition of ex-inmates and their families and churches and media justice and civil rights activists have gotten together and pressured the FCC to finally act. That's good. On that day, we stood out there in the cold. We sang, we chanted, we cheered. Commissioner Clyburn was there with a few people from the FCC. They showed up, but most didn't. But you could see them. You could see them watching. You could see them kind of, shuffling past with their heads down. You could see them with their noses pressed to the glass inside the building, looking out and looking a little nervous. And Malkia Cyril at the Center for Media Justice started up a chant. It's a chant I've had stuck in my head for months. So, with her permission, I hope, I want to borrow that chant tonight. I want to borrow it because I think we need to hear it right now. I want people outside these doors to hear it. I want them to hear it all over Denver. I want them to hear it out in Las Vegas over the sounds of the slot machines and the backslapping. I want them to hear it all the way back in Washington, D.C., with their faces pressed against those thick windows, trying to figure out what all the noise is about. So, are you ready? When I say we will, you say win. When I say we will, you say win. We will. We will. We will. All right, let's go do it. Thanks for being here.